This is Kurt Navina reading for Kevin Kenizovic. With 2016's Monster Hunter Stories for the 3DS, Capcom transformed its real-time strategy monster hunting series into something dramatically different, a colorful, turn-based monster collecting RPG. Despite the stark change in tone and gameplay, Stories offered a new perspective on the Monster Hunter universe, making it an enjoyable alternative to the mainline series. Its follow-up, Monster Hunter Stories 2: Wings of Ruin, very much follows the template that the original 3DS game set, and despite some repetitive elements, it's another solid spin-off for the franchise. Like its predecessor, Monster Hunter Stories 2 trades monster slaying for monster collecting. Rather than casting you in the role of a hunter, the game puts you in the boots of a fledgling rider, someone who is able to form bonds with monsters and fight alongside them. While you'll still need to hunt down plenty of monsters during your journey, you'll spend most of your time exploring dens and collecting new monstie companions that you can raise and take into battle. This makes Monster Hunter Stories 2 closer to Pokemon than to a traditional Monster Hunter title, but the game plays out much differently than Nintendo's monster catching series. Foremost is the way you collect monsters. Rather than taming wild ones, you obtain new monsties by entering monster dens and gathering their eggs. These crop up randomly each time you set out into the overworld and primarily come in two varieties: standard dens and golden rare dens that typically obtain better eggs. Regardless of their type, the dens themselves are all rudimentary in terms of their layouts. Beyond some occasional branching pathways, which usually just lead to optional treasures, there are no real environmental puzzles to solve, so they're not particularly compelling to explore on their own. Despite this, the allure of discovering new kinds of eggs never grows old and makes trekking through dens worthwhile, especially as you progress through the story and begin encountering cooler monsters. In addition to regular monster dens, each major area in the game also features a handful of larger dungeons called Everdens. These are much more labyrinth-like than standard dens and house some unique treasures such as rare eggs and bottle caps, which can be exchanged for special items and upgrades like increased storage space for your monsties. These upgrades make bottle caps among the most valuable commodities in the game, but they're not as satisfying to find. Like regular dens, Everdens don't offer much variety, so they end up feeling samey and aren't all enjoyable to navigate. And no thanks to their winding pathways, you'll often hit multiple dead ends before you eventually locate the monster nest, which makes Everdens more of a chore to explore than regular dens. After you've obtained an egg, you can take it back to the stables and hatch a new monstie. Depending on the egg's rarity and weight, the monstie you obtain will boast different genes, which determines what skills and attacks it will be able to use during the battle. These genes are crucial if you hope to get the most out of your monstie, and they become a sort of minigame unto themselves. If you align 3 genes of the same color, you'll achieve a bingo bonus, which will power up your monstie even further. You can also pass genes between monsties through a process called Rite of Channeling. This offers a pleasing amount of flexibility in customizing your monstie's skills, and feels rewarding to devise new combinations. Your monsties primarily come in use in battle. Unlike the mainline series, encounters in Monster Hunter Stories 2 are turn-based. While there are elemental weaknesses and advantages to consider, battles revolve around 3 different types of attacks: power, speed, and technical. Each type has an advantage over another. Speed bests power, power beats technical, and technical overcomes speed. The crux of the battles then become figuring out which type of attack the enemy monster will use and swapping in the right monstie to counter it. It's a simple yet satisfying system, and the game keeps it fresh by introducing new kinds of monsters with different attack patterns. The weapons you use are also crucial to combat. Weapons, like monsties, fall into 3 varieties: slash, pierce, and blunt, which lends itself an additional layer of strategy. Different parts of a monster are susceptible to a particular type of weapon, so you'll need to swap out weapons frequently during the course of a battle and target specific parts to deal the most damage. Attack a part enough times and you will eventually break it, causing the monster to drop a material and topple over. While a monster is prone on the ground, each attack will deal critical damage. And you can even halt some monsters from unleashing their strongest attacks by breaking a specific part of their body. These wrinkles make battles feel consistently enjoyable, and the game boasts some nice quality of life features such as the ability to fast forward animations and even end battles against lower level foes immediately to mitigate the grind. Beyond their in-battle abilities, each monster can also perform a certain action while you ride them out in the field, which will help you reach some otherwise inaccessible areas. The Yeon Koot Koot, for instance, can smash rocks that are blocking the path. However, these riding actions are underutilized during the main adventure, which is disappointing. Rather than opening up new paths to explore, these skills are typically used to reach out-of-the-way treasure chests, whose contents are often underwhelming. As a result, the skills used in the field are largely unnecessary and don't really add anything to the experience. The weakest element in Monster Hunter Stories 2 is, ironically, its story. While the narrative is certainly more involved than a traditional Monster Hunter game, it largely stays within JRPG tropes and is predictable as a result.
Whatever you say, Chief, the two of us will do you proud.
The story also skews toward a younger audience, as evidenced by Naviru, your cartoonish, wisecracking feline companion.
From here on out, we're gonna be partners! And I'll do it all totally free of charge.
Since your avatar never speaks, Naviru takes up most of the dialogue, and he frequently straddles the line between cute and annoying. That said, the story does broach some themes that the mainline series never explores, such as the seemingly incompatible worldviews of hunters and riders, and it's filled with humorous and touching moments. Overall, Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin is an enjoyable Monster Hunter spin-off, and an all-around solid JRPG, particularly if you enjoy games like Pokemon. While the title retains some of the series' hallmark elements, its emphasis on monster collecting and its fun turn-based battle system make it a different experience than Monster Hunter Rise. One that even those who've struggled to get into the proper Monster Hunter series can enjoy.